So science, we are starting a new module today. We are starting module 3. I'm not looking for my science book over here. It's already over here. All right. Well, Tuesdays and Thursdays are the quieter days because 9th and 10th grade don't have their classes today.
Oh, so you don't have any classes at all?
Not today. They're not doing 4 days a week.
What page is it
on? We're starting on page 59. Okay. So we're going to be talking about experiments and how to analyze the results of experiments and parts of experiments and all that. Because experimentation is a major part of the scientific method. So the whole point of experiments is to test a hypothesis. To be able to test a hypothesis accurately and to the best of your ability, and to be able to get accurate and reliable results, even though science isn't 100% reliable, but more reliable results than if you did it wrong, you have to understand experiments and you have to understand how to set up good experiments. So when you are, like, let's say you have a question. What's a question you have about the world?
Why is the world so cool?
Okay, I can't answer that. What's a question you have that I might can answer?
How is sour candy sour?
Okay. All right. So I'm trying to think of how to set up an experiment. It's what they put on it. I can tell you why the world's cruel, and that's because of sin. Let's see. How would we set up that experiment? Okay, I'm gonna give you an example because I don't know how I would set up an experiment to test that. I mean, it's the stuff they put on the candy that makes it sour. It interacts with the sour taste buds in your mouth. And I mean, a way to like determine what makes some candy more sour would be to look at the chemical composition of it. Anyways, let's say you want to know if music affects behavior of people. Okay. You would have to set up an experiment to test that. So you would need different types of music and different types of people. And so the different types of people and the different types of music would be your experimental variables that you're going to learn from. So an experimental variable is an aspect of an experiment which changes during the course of the experiment. So let's get out our study guide and write that down. Okay, with the experimental variable, there's two types of experimental variables. There are necessary experimental variables, or experimental variables you're going to learn from. And then there are unnecessary experimental variables. So in the example I gave you of wanting to know if music affects the behavior of someone, and you might want to get out another piece of paper and write two types of experimental variables. The kind you learn from, or necessary variables, and the kind you don't learn from, but can affect your experiment unnecessary variables. So in that experiment that we were talking about doing, necessary variables would be types of music, and types of people to an extent. And what do I mean by to an extent? So to an extent in this case means you need to have a wide range of people with different temperaments. So you would need a person who is more calm, you would need a person who is more anxious, you would need a person who's kind of depressed, you would need a person that is quick to anger, and you would need a person who's kind of hyper. So, but they would need to stay the same people throughout the experiment. Now, unnecessary variables. In this kind of experiment would be what the people are doing. So the best way to set up this kind of experiment would be to isolate people alone in a room for, let's say you're gonna try, I don't know, 4 different types of music. So for 2 hours, 30 minutes each, maybe 4 hours to give 30 minutes in between. So like, let's say you're gonna do rock music, rock or heavy metal, classical music, pop music, and maybe I don't know, there's lots of other kinds of music. I'm trying to think of one that's kind of different from all those styles. Well, let's just test through. So rock, heavy metal, rock or heavy metal, either one. Classical, and then pop. Okay?
What about country?
Country kind of sounds similar-ish to pop. They tend to have similar beats and rhythms. That's why I didn't include that. Same as rap tends to be kind of similar to rock, with the